Welcome to the second episode of the second season of Beyond Conversations, an initiative by IEEE Pune section and a podcast show which is for the students and by the students. In this episode, I'm your host Sohan Joshi, and I recently had the opportunity to talk to Shaurya Sethi, who completed his master's in computer science from New York University. In this episode, we talk about his entire journey of building his profile for applying to various universities abroad, especially in the US, right after his graduation from PICT. We discuss about the experiences that he's had through internships, projects, and building his skills while he was pursuing his graduation. Later on, we talk about his experience of studying at New York University, the curriculum at NYU, and the interesting projects and skills that he built in New York University. In the last part of the episode, we talk about the various aspects of content creation, as Shaurya himself is a blogger and is quite active on LinkedIn. Don't forget to check out his LinkedIn and Twitter, which is listed in the description below. And now, let's dive deep into the conversation. Thank you. Okay, so hi Shaurya and welcome to our podcast show named Beyond Conversations, an initiative by IEEE Pune section. So can you please introduce yourself to the audience of our podcast show?
Yep. Hey, Sohan. Thanks for having me here. So I'm Shaurya. I currently based out of New York, working as an analyst in the ad tech space. I graduated from New York University with my master's in computer science. And before this, I was in Pune Institute of Computer Technology, and then I graduated with my computer engineering.
Right. So basically, we have been connected with each other on LinkedIn since a couple of months now, and I recently saw your posts about you graduating from NYU. So I think it was a pretty grand experience. So if you could tell us about what that experience was and everything about it.
Yeah, for sure. So, NYU, takes their graduation pretty seriously. Like we didn't know that, so it wasn't really a graduation for me on time because I graduated last May, and because of
Mm-hmm.
COVID, like from batch of 2020, 2021, we all
Right.
had like virtual graduation. So it was sort of like a
Right.
backlog graduation along with
Right.
the 2022 batch. So it was definitely fun because I got to meet so many friends who sort of visited for graduation from all over the place. And NYU has like three different events. Like NYU is sort of an
Mm-hmm.
umbrella term for
Right.
15 different colleges. So we had
Right.
our School of Engineering graduation, and then we
Right.
had an NYU all commencement graduation at the
Right.
New York Yankee Stadium where Taylor
Mm-hmm.
Swift was there. I'm sure
Right. Right.
that there was a lot of buzz on
Yeah.
social
Yeah.
media,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then yeah, it was just pretty good to officially feel that you graduated. So that was something which was nice.
Yeah. Amazing. So, I mean, let's go back in time and start from the point wherein you decided you'll pursue computer science as your major when you opt for masters. So, how and why did you choose CS? From a couple of options available out there.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good question. And like to be honest, while like my first year at NYU, I kept questioning myself that why did I choose CS?
Mm-hmm.
That is for sure.
Right.
I think it was a natural progression for me. My undergrad was in computer engineering. I did not enjoy studying the hardware side of it a lot, but
Mm-hmm.
I did enjoy studying about like machine learning and like cloud computing, like the new stuff that was going on. And then I felt that at a point where I was graduating in 2019, a lot of these
Mm-hmm.
technologies were like gaining traction, but our curriculum at that point was like not that updated that we were very familiar
Right.
with like these big words like big data, cloud computing and stuff. So I thought
Right.
it's interesting enough to learn more about like how they work, and that's how
Mm-hmm.
like I decided to choose computer science as my major.
Right. So, in which year of your bachelor's engineering, when did you decide that I'll opt for masters, and how did the application, basically the preparation process start? Like you have to prepare for GRE, we have to prepare for a language test. So, when did that entire process start?
Yeah, for sure. So when it comes to like my like decision of pursuing masters, I think like that was decided even before I like my undergrad started that I would
Mm-hmm.
want to go for my masters right away.
Right.
One of the reasons like why it was that like, I have like a couple of like people in my fam who've done their masters in the US,
Mm-hmm.
and then I knew that this was an experience that I wanted to pursue right away. So
Right.
that was something that was like set in stone from like day one onwards. And like when it comes to preparation, like tactical preparation, when it began, I would say like third year is a good time to, start thinking about all those things
Okay.
because when it comes to preparing for your masters, a lot of things need to happen before you even like prepare for your GRE and before you even prepare for your TOEFL. It's about like, identifying firstly, as you like rightly asked me, so like what major do you want to pursue because that's a big decision.
Right. Right.
University selection, like it's good to have your university selection, but like that's not really up to you. It depends on the admits that you get. So it's
And it's
about like, being tactical about like how many universities should I apply to, which are ambitious and that sort of stuff.
yeah.
And then it was about like once you've sort of figured those out, once you've identified what your
Mm-hmm.
major is, and then it's about like, giving your test like GRE and TOEFL, which was like
Right.
I would say that was in my like fifth or sixth semester, like right about like in my third year.
Right, right, right. So basically, like when you're applying for studying in abroad, you need to build your profile, right? You need to do a couple of
Mm-hmm.
things. You need to work upon your projects. You need to do a couple of internships, and there's a whole sort of things that you need to do before you
Mm-hmm.
apply. So if you could tell us about the things that you were into, like the projects that you worked upon, the technologies that you learned, and the sort of internship experience that you got before writing those essays and sending out those application letters.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think like that's something that takes a lot of time for like especially people for India to adapt because I think what we're
Mm-hmm.
used to more is about like a rank-based education system where it's about like,
Right.
if you get like a certain threshold of marks, then automatically you would qualify for some admits, right? But
Right.
like what happens here is that there are so many different factors that go into decision making that a person who has like a 330 out of 340 on GRE might get rejected from university, but someone with a 300 score of 340 might get accepted. So there are so many
Right.
things that go on. So some of those pillars would be A, your GPA in your undergrad is a like it plays a huge role. That's something
Right.
unfortunately that I did not know previously. Otherwise, I would have
Okay.
probably worked harder on my GPA in my undergrad. So that's really
Right.
important, and especially for people like who are deciding to pursue their masters directly without any work experience. So because if you don't have any work experience, then GPA is the first thing that the university has sort of like a proxy for how hard you work and like how smart you are, right? So it's not
Exactly.
everything, but like it plays a huge role. So
Yeah.
that's one. Second thing would be again like for people who are like me that deciding to like pursue their masters right away after their undergrad, then showing some sort of projects or like if not projects, then having some internship experience is a huge plus because like of a couple of reasons. The first is that it showcases that you have some sort of practical knowledge of you have
Mm-hmm.
applied what you've
Right.
learned so far, and so that's important. And the second thing is that if you like are able to get some internship at like a big brand name or like something like at a big company which is
Right.
recognized all over, like it helps you
Right.
build those alumni networks and connections. And then second,
Mm-hmm.
it also acts as like a good proxy for that, that you could be a
Right.
good fit for the academic program. So like those are a couple of things to keep in mind. And besides that, like I would say TOEFL score, like people like worry about them too much, but like it does not really matter. Like every university has
Mm-hmm.
like a minimum threshold. Like for
Mm-hmm.
example, like below 80, you would have to give it again. I believe like at my time it was a score of 120, and then universities have that threshold that below 100 we would not accept someone. But then it doesn't matter if it's 101 or 110. It does not really matter that much.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So basically, I'm in my second year right now, and it's the summer time right now. So basically, there's a whole lot of discussion in my my batch or people around me talking
Mhm.
about internships and stuff. So how did you get your internship? Was it you got it through the college or was it off campus? And how was the entire experience about your your internship experience basically like?
Yeah, for sure. Like like I don't want to sound like a 40-year-old, but like the time that I was at like PICT, like things were a little different in the sense that people were not really talking about internships and like talking about those sort of things. People were like more focused on just maintaining their attendance and that sort of things. And I think
Right.
things have changed now because when I've been talking to you and I've been talking to other juniors, I believe that I think internship is become like a requirement if you wanna like in your third year summer before you
Yeah.
move
Yeah.
on to fourth year, which is a very welcome change, and that was unheard of during our time
Yeah.
because
Right.
summers were just like 10 or 15 days of holiday, and at that time people just wanted to spend time with their fam and then just go
Right.
back
Right.
to doing
Mm-hmm.
next semester. But like that being said, like there's no excuses for like not doing such stuff. So interns, like my personal experience was that I interned remotely when I was in Pune. So I'm originally from Indore, and then I just like randomly applied here and there through LinkedIn, and then I got in touch with like my personal contacts as well, and through that I
Mm-hmm.
was able to convert like one internship, and then I believe the title was like a product and software development intern, but it was like a little bit of everything. Like there was uh, like software development involved, there was
Right.
testing involved, there was also like some sort of product element involved to it for sure.
Right.
So it was a
Right.
good learning experience, but it was more of like a virtual thing where I was in like I was a full-time student in Pune, but I was doing it at the
Mm-hmm.
back end.
Right, right, right. So basically, now let's talk about the application process. As in, when you start
Mm-hmm.
applying, I guess when you have to apply for, let's say, fall 2024, I should start
Mm-hmm.
sending my applications from September 23, if I'm not wrong. So how was the entire application process like? And like you get some acceptance letter, you get some, like, you're not selected in a couple of universities. Then how do you navigate your way through it, and how did you find your way to New York University? Like, how was that complete experience like?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I believe, yeah, that's generally the timeline. So if you're applying for like the fall intake, for example, like fall 2024,
Right.
I think like December would be the time when, you would want to be done with all the applications. And then from January onwards, you would just want to sort of wait for admits, right? So that's
Right.
usually the timeline that people follow. And when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to like, giving your GRE and like, other exams, I would say since those are valid for 5 years, I would say if you can do it sooner, like for example, like say in your summer before that. So for example, if your summer of 2023, if you can give your GRE for
Mm-hmm.
fall 2024 admit, that would be great
Right.
because it would give you time if your scores are not good and if you would want to work again and give it again and like sort of retake it. I would say it's always
Mm-hmm.
good to have those buffers, especially because the scores are valid for 5 years. So I would say
5 years.
the sooner
Yep.
the better. And
Mm-hmm.
then when it comes to applications, most of the universities have like a flexible deadline. Like for example, some universities would have like you could submit your applications till February or even March of 2024. But I would say
Mm-hmm.
the sooner you submit your applications, the better because most of the universities hire on a rolling basis. So the
Right.
advantage is that if you uh, apply early and if a university does not have a lot of candidates right now, rather than rejecting you, they would sort of waitlist you rather than rejecting you right away because they just don't know what are the quality of candidates they could expect for the
Right.
like till the deadlines close. So I would say like that's a good timeline to keep in mind that if you're applying for fall, for example, 2024, then
Mm-hmm.
by December or like like mid-January, be done with every application and then sort of seeing what sort of admits you get and then taking your decisions accordingly. And yeah, that was I guess yeah, that was the first part of your question, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And like, how was your experience? Like, for example, you got selected into a university A,
Hmm.
university B. So then, how did you decide like which university to choose, and how was that experience?
Yeah, and like that's a great question, and I would like to say that there's no right or wrong answer to it because there's
Mm-hmm.
like so much nuances and like subjectivity involved into
Mm-hmm.
decision making that there's no fixed formula that you can plug into, but there are definitely things that you can do which are not right. So what I mean by that is just selecting universities based on rankings because rankings,
Yeah.
here they vary a lot. It's not that if a university is ranked 20th, so the 25th one would be worse in any way. There are so
Mm-hmm.
many like small things that go into like rankings and
Absolutely.
rankings
Yeah.
by itself, they're not official. There's no government entity which are ranking them. So everything you have to take it with a pinch of salt. So what's important is that I would say don't coach just on the basis of rankings, whatever you see online. That's A. Second is, like especially this was true before pandemic, is that if you're living on either coast, that is either East Coast, if you're in New York or West Coast,
Right.
that if you're in like San Francisco or San Jose, you are closer to jobs because that's where majority of the jobs
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
But I think
Right.
that is changing a little because since like jobs are sort of hybrid or like more remote friendly right now, I think that
Yeah.
advantage of being on coast is changing. I
Yeah.
would say one of the biggest factors that should go into decision making is directly talking to your seniors from those universities. For example, if you've gotten admits from, say, New York University and University of California, Santa Barbara, and you're confused about, what your decision, like where you should go. Like obviously the
Right.
couple of criteria are how well you like the course, what's the tuition like, what's the cost of living like. Obviously those are the like top three usually things that people compare. The other thing would be, I would say, just reach out to the seniors or alums of those universities on LinkedIn, or just try to find a common connection. The reason is that because, for example, if you're really interested in a field, for example, say machine learning or like natural language processing or NLP or something like very specific. And then
Mm-hmm.
you also want to find out that, if the course or that particular university has some specialization in that, are
Right.
like, do they have some labs in that? Do people end up getting jobs in those roles that you like? So these are some things that don't always are very apparent when you're looking at comparing universities. But if there's a
Mm-hmm.
field that you feel that you're really interested in, then I would say talk to the seniors who went to those universities, and then try to see what the opportunities are like. If the university supports what you are interested in, what sort of roles are these people ending up in? Because often what happens is these like most companies have like hiring
Mm-hmm.
pipelines. So for example, Amazon might hire a lot from University of Washington, and so these sort of things. So
Right.
this becomes apparent if you talk to alums or seniors. So that's something to look out for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, I really resonate with the point. As in, I've heard a lot of people applying to the universities just on the basis of their ranks. They're not really aware about the course outcome that they want. Like after they are done with the course, what are the kind of roles that they're looking for? I think I am totally inclined towards management studies and stuff. So basically, I've heard this a lot that people are not really aware about what kind of domain do they want to get into. Like for example, finance or consulting, or let's say marketing, sales, or whatever it is. So yeah, I mean that was a really good point that people should really look onto up to like what are their interests and the flexibility that the course offers. And I think how does that course really help you as an individual to get closer to your dreams and like basically your goals. So like am I is it right to say that people should really first be self-aware about the things that they really want, the things that they are expecting from the course, and what kind of jobs do they want to get into, and then decide the the university that they are applying to?
Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. But like also that being said, I would like to add that, before like coming to the US, like I did not know that I want to get into product management. Like that's something
Right.
I discovered here. Like while I was doing multiple things, while I was trying multiple jobs, that's when I realized that this is a field I'm interested in. And so sometimes it's okay to like not have all the answers from the word go. That's fine. But then, like think about the courses that offer the most flexibility, right? So what that
Mm-hmm.
means is like once I decided to come to NYU for my master's in computer science, I knew that NYU, as I like previously mentioned, is an umbrella term for like 15 different colleges. So I got the flexibility to like take two or three elective or like courses from completely different schools. So I could take electives from our business school if I wanted to learn more about management or strategy and design. So that is something that went into my decision making as well, that I knew that that's something I might be interested in, and that
Mm-hmm.
flexibility offered a lot of growth opportunity for me to explore new fields and sort of capitalize on that. So that's something to factor in
Right.
while selecting unis as well.
Right. So actually, we already started, we touched upon the things that you, like you started exploring at NYU. So if you could get into a couple of details, like how was studying at NYU as an experience, like the people, the professors around, and the courses that you had, the flexibility that you had. It sounds really amazing because I guess this is a flexibility that is very lacking over here. We just stick to a couple of courses that we are allotted, and I'm, let's say I'm studying engineering right now, but I'm totally interested in entrepreneurship or let's say management and stuff. But the it is not like really flexible over here, I guess, as compared to the US or any Western education system. So if you could talk about like how did you utilize your flexibility and how was the entire studying experience of studying at NYU like?
Yeah, for sure. That's a great question as well. And when I would say like I completely get that not getting that flexibility when especially you're doing your engineering in India, because most colleges they don't allow that many courses that students can opt for. But then that being said, because that's something that we're not used to when we come here for our
Right.
masters, it becomes that much more difficult for us as well to select our own courses,
Mm-hmm.
because what happens
Right.
is that like same course taught by two different professors could have completely different outcomes, completely different learning objectives, and completely different
Absolutely.
experiences. So, like, you need to do a lot of research before you firstly select your courses. So that's an added, it's a pro because, you're selecting your own courses, but then it's also a con because you need to do a lot of research. You need to figure out more before, because obviously you're paying a lot of money for these courses. So you want these courses to have like the highest ROI as well, right? So,
Right.
that's just a bit of caveat that grass always seems greener on the other side. But that being said, like that having that flexibility is great. It gets you you choose your own courses. You once you do your research about talking to your seniors, because that's the best way to see what the course is about and what your interests lie in. And one of the great things about, like, I'm not sure whether this happens at other universities, but like obviously I can speak for New York University, is that like at our course, you can enroll in a course, you can attend classes for 2 weeks, and then if you don't like it, you can always drop it and then
Okay.
select another
That's
course.
nice.
So it sort of gives you more flexibility about
Right.
seeing
Absolutely.
whether you like it or not, and then sort of taking your decision from there. So that's just about like the course selection point of view. And the other thing, like I guess like the humorous side of it is that getting the courses you want is not easy. What happens
Okay.
is like we have those fixed time slots where courses go live and like students have to register. So it's literally like playing fastest finger first on KBC. Like courses run out within seconds, like, and especially
Right.
the courses which are like high in demand and people usually want. So that's something which often is a cause of frustration, that you want to study some particular course at some particular semester at a point of time, but you're just not able to register for it. So that's something which happens all the time as well.
Right.
Like I guess like a good resource. I'm not sure how relevant it is right now, but like there's an app called Coursicle, Courscicle, where
Mm-hmm.
people can just track these courses. So in real time, if a course that you want, it has been closed, but then if you really want it, and if someone ends up dropping it, then you'll get notified
Change.
in real time, and then you can go on the website and then
Exactly.
sort of try to get in before it closes again. So that's just like a pointer that I learned from my seniors, and like just passing it along. And I believe like the other part of the question was like in general just the experience at studying at NYU. Was that
Mm-hmm.
the question?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of people, I mean, the professors, the
Mm-hmm.
alumni that you're connected to, your peer group right in front, right in your
Mm-hmm.
classroom. So, how was that experience like? Because I think it's the one of the best things that can happen to you at a very young age is being surrounded by motivated people who are like willing to explore the world and just trying out different things. So, how was that experience like?
Yeah, for sure. And like that's a good question as well. And so the experience. So like I started my master's pre-pandemic, and then like within like I think in the middle of my second semester was the time when pandemic hit. So it like feels like two completely different experiences. But like
Right.
in general, I guess like the experience was like really satisfying. It's not easy for sure. Like. Whoever you talk to, there are like high points and low points in your master's journey. But like that being said,
Exactly.
like my particular experience at NYU was like very, I would say like a fulfilling one, because I did not know what I wanted to do once I graduated. It was during the
Right.
entire journey that I found out that through talking to multiple people, through doing multiple things, that by like taking some great courses, that what my interests lie in, and then sort of discovering that, and then sort of building on top of that. So it was a great experience for sure. And the best thing about like NYU is that you get the New York experience, because
Exactly.
your
Exactly.
campus is in the city, unlike a lot of different universities which are like huge campuses, but like our
Outside.
college towns were a small town. So that was a great experience to be like in part of the city as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wanted to basically touch upon that topic as well. So, a lot of people, including me, generally want to come to New York and then have this whole academic experience, and if not academic experience, the whole experience of New York as in general, if I'm a traveler or something like that. So
Mhm.
how was the, as you said, studying at New York, like being in the city was a great experience. So how was New York as a city like, or how was the, how is USA as a country like? So how, you could talk about cultural shocks that you had, or a couple of new things that you discovered, and yeah, so how was that experience like?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like so before coming for my master's, like I had been to the US a couple of times before. Like I had like relatives here, so I visited them. So in terms
Mm-hmm.
of like cultural shocks, like there weren't a lot of shocks, but obviously like living here versus like visiting are two separate things on their own for sure. And like I
Right.
believe in general, like I had so many friends, like my previous flatmates as well, who were like coming to the US for the first time, but I feel that that cultural shock element has shrunk in the previous decade or so because people are
Right.
watching the same TV shows, people are using the same products,
Exactly.
listening to the same bands. So, if you're just interacting with someone here who's like born and brought up in the US, you would more often than not find something which is very common that, you probably listen to the same band or same music on like
Okay.
or watching the same shows on Netflix, right? So that sort of
Right.
cultural element has like cultural shock has shrunk. But like that being said, like it takes time to get used to because when you're here, you like especially when you're here as a student, you
Mm-hmm.
obviously like you're here to learn as much as you can, get a good job once you graduate. But at the same time, you're also here to have a good time. You're also here to like explore, see the city. You're also here to you
Right.
also have to manage your own chores because there's no
Right.
one here if you don't cook for yourself. There's no food for you to eat. So it's all
Right.
about like man like first semester takes a little time for you to get into the groove of
Okay.
everything because even the courses even for example if it's the same course that you've taken in your undergrad, the way it's taught here is completely different. There are like
Mm-hmm.
weekly assignments that you need to submit. There are like midterms and like finals and like so that takes a lot of time to get used to as well. So like that's just a general advice that I give to like students as well because people who are coming here, they have this feeling that we're paying so much to be here, so we want to learn as much as we can, so we want to take the toughest courses. Like that feeling is very natural and very valid, but at the same
Mm-hmm.
time don't discount the fact that first semester is usually the time when you're also branching out, making friends. You want to get comfortable while doing your own chores and that sort of
Absolutely.
thing, so that takes time as well. So I would say like keep the burden of your courses not very heavy, keep it to a medium in your first semester, and then obviously in the second semester you'll be in like a good position to take you'll be well settled, and then you can sort of ramp up your courses.
Right, right, right. Amazing. So, let's shift the conversation to this whole content creation thing that you are into. Like you mentioned a couple of times before, like when you are selecting a particular university, you should reach out to the alumni or the people those are
Hmm.
actually studying there, and then understand how the university courses work and what are the opportunities that you get after graduating from the university. So basically, I think you are on LinkedIn since a couple of years now, and you have been posting quite actively, as you said, like you connected to people via LinkedIn. So I want to get into this whole content creation or writing on LinkedIn and other platforms. Like how did that process start, and how did you like what are the gains and stuff? We'll talk about that later. But how did the whole process start actually?
Yeah, for sure. So firstly, like when before I came to the US, like I just had a LinkedIn profile. Like I never really like leveraged it to reach out to people. I knew a couple of like my personal connections from undergrads, like who were at NYU at that time. So I just like sort of relied on them to get
Okay.
what I wanted to know. So I never really did those outreach and that sort of things on LinkedIn. But like there's a lot of value in reaching out to people, and like it's a skill for sure that you learn over time. Like how do you reach out to people, and not just when you're deciding like or selecting universities, but in general, like if you're looking for internships or if you're looking for jobs, it's always great to connect to alumni because firstly, and especially if they're international students, because they know the struggle that you've gone through, and they are like more likely to help you out because they'll be more empathetic towards your situation since they've
All right.
gone through the same cycle as well, right? So that's like just the gist of it. And like why I started like being active on LinkedIn, like as anyone would say, is like because I wanted a job. This was
Mm-hmm.
like when I was like graduating. This was like I think when I was graduating in May of 2021. I started like being really active on LinkedIn. Say like October or like November of like 2020. And at that time, it was just like I was using LinkedIn as sort of like my digital resume, that everything I have on my resume, I just like put it out there. And then I was just using LinkedIn for looking at jobs, and then, just seeing what sort of jobs are there. And then as a job board, basically just applying for jobs. But then I think what changed, or like what like shifted my mindset, was that once I like sort of started reaching out to people on LinkedIn, for example, like if I saw an opportunity at a company, and obviously like the smaller the company, the better the chances that, if you reach out to someone and if they connect with
Mm-hmm.
you and if they are
Right.
willing to refer you, more often than not, you'll get an interview. But like it happens all the time that, if you get a referral, like you don't get an interview. So getting a referral does
Right.
not really mean getting an interview, but then you increase your chances of getting an interview. It's all about that. So, like my experience was that people who you have something in common with are more likely to respond to you. For example, people who went to the same master school, like master's college, or like people who went to your same undergrad school, or like at least just finding something in common with the people, and then just trying
Right.
to, form relationships with them rather than just, like trying to ask something for them. So why that sort of like why that was important, and like why I continue to do that, was like initially my goal was just to like get a job because I was graduating like anyone else, and that's the only reason why I was active on LinkedIn. But what I realized was that, once I started having conversations like these with like professionals, where I saw myself in 5 years, or like later down the lane, right? I just realized that, just listening to people, just talk, like hearing their journey was so much valuable in the long term, because you understand uh, understand things that you otherwise would take a lot of time to learn on your from your own experience. So it's just a
Right.
great way for you to sort of flatten the learning curve when you're talking to multiple people. So in like my 6 months of like when I wanted to break into product management, I got the chance
Mm-hmm.
to like connect with like more than 100 product managers through LinkedIn. Some of them were NYU alums, some of them just like I think like Pune University alums as well. And then some of them
Mm-hmm.
I just like
Yes.
cold reached out, and then they were like kind enough to have a conversation. So that was something that I like that was a skill that you learn over time. I like not everyone you reach out to will respond. It's
Right.
about you, that you don't take it personally. It's more about that people are generally busy, and especially if you're trying to
Right.
reach out to people who like work at big companies, they're flooded with messages, right? So it's
Right.
about you, that how can you distinguish yourself amongst like 100 other people who've reached out to them. So like a few tactical things would be just sending a personalized invite to people, making sure why you want to connect with them.
Exactly.
If you saw that anything is common, then make sure that you like let them know in your invite that okay, so we went to the same school or something like that. So that's bit about like why I started reaching out to people and like connecting with people on LinkedIn. I know I haven't gotten to the content creation part, that I will in a while, and that's actually like reaching out to people is key, because that's actually like how I got my job that I'm currently working in right now. I saw an
Mm-hmm.
opportunity at a company, and then I saw that like LinkedIn has this feature where it shows you that like X number of people from your school work here at
Exactly.
this
Work here.
company. So that
I know.
so that feature is like built intentionally. It's not by chance. It's because that people here, like people like are more likely to respond if you went to the same school, because people just have a lot of school loyalty. I feel that that's more true here in the US than I've seen in
Mm-hmm.
India. So just
Mm-hmm.
I literally reached out to like 15 people who went to NYU, and then just mention in my invites that hey, he went to NYU, like I saw that you went to NYU together as well. Would you have like just I saw an opportunity open at the company. Would you be open to chat? And then through that, I found out a completely different position while I was just talking to that person.
Right.
And they just mentioned that they're hiring someone on their team, and would I want to be considered for it? And through that informal conversation, through a role that I never applied for, I directly got into the final side, and then I got the role. So I'm not saying that this is the only way to get a job here. Like you can always cold apply and like keep on applying to tens of roles every single day and still get it. But I'm just saying that reaching out to people, building relationships, and like making connections like goes a long way, especially here, because if you're an international student, you like if you're an immigrant here, you always are sort of against the clock, that even if you're here for 5 years on your H1B, but if you lose your job, you just have 60 days to find a job, otherwise you're out, right? So you cannot
Mm-hmm.
start every time from scratch. That you
Yeah.
cannot always start applying online and seeing and praying that something works out. So you need to build those relationships early on. So that's just like my experience with reaching out to people on LinkedIn and just generally being active on LinkedIn. And yeah, I can get into the content creation part as well, like if you like.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Like, how was the entire experience of creating content? As in, I think you are mostly into writing stuff. Like, you write a couple of posts on LinkedIn, and I like this recent post of yours in which you talked about summer internship, got about over 100K views, and it was like it blew up on LinkedIn, right? This post that you made about, I think it was about internship opportunities, about like business analytics or finance analyst or something like that. So did that change the way you write on LinkedIn, or has it been like been similar since you started out in the first place?
Right. Yeah, exactly. So then it comes down to like the goal of like, why you're writing something. So like firstly, when I started writing stuff on content on LinkedIn, when I was looking for jobs, so the goal was that like if I'm talking about product management, if I'm talking about what I'm learning every single day in product management, I would probably like that's the fastest way to like in the most organic way to attract like-minded people, right? So through
Right.
that, I like if so for example, like if I say I did a product breakdown of like a new browser and then I posted it on my website and then I posted it on LinkedIn, and then through that I just found like a couple of great people who were aspiring product managers as well, and then we had a great conversation, and then we did mock interviews together as well. So through like writing about something that you're interested in is a great way to organically connect with like-minded people. Like that was the
Yeah.
goal at that point, and it's a great way for opportunities to find you as well. So that was the goal when I was looking for roles. And the reason like why I continue to create content on LinkedIn is just to spread awareness in terms of
Mm-hmm.
what I've learned along the way. And the
Right.
goal is not to be viral. The goal, like, it's a good validation for sure, but like that's not something that motivates me. It's just like so things about that, especially things such as like how do you reach out to people on LinkedIn? Like, why it is important in the first place that you build those relationships, because you can always get a job while cold applying as well. But why is that not the way to go forward? But like, why is networking the good way, and like how do you do it properly? So these are the lessons like I've just learned along my journey, and I don't claim to be an expert on any of those things. It's just
Right.
I'm just sharing stuff that has helped me, and then hopefully, would help someone as well. So that's just the goal of like why I continue to create stuff on LinkedIn,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm glad that it's resonating with people, and then I've had people reach out to me saying that some of the stuff that I've said, like so because like when you're looking for jobs, it's sort of like it's 50% of the stuff is tactical and strategic. That okay, does my resume look good? Does it have all the right words? Am I applying on all the job boards? Do I have access to all the job opportunities? And then 50% of the stuff is just psychological stuff where you're trying to motivate yourself, because everyone, like no matter how smart you are, you will get a lot of rejections, you will get ghosted and that sort of stuff. So it's a mix of both, right? And it's just like that's what motivates me to just pass it along.
Right. You mentioned that you continue to write because you basically figured out what you actually like writing about, and you continue to do that. So is that the reason why you started your own website, in which I've read a couple of blogs in which you write about the lessons that you have learned from a particular book or your own personal experience? Like I read those old blogs in which you were talking about your journey at NYU, and the content later on shifted towards the books that you're learning from and stuff. So how has the like why did you start your personal website? What was the motivation, and like how did you even think about it? Because a lot of people over here in around me are web developers, but they it's very rare for a web developer to have this online resume of their own. But it's an amazing thing to have actually, because it gives a professional touch to your profile as well, and like you can put your work out there on the internet. So if you could walk us through the whole website creation process and the way you write over there, and how do you handle alongside your busy work schedule of working at a startup or a job, and then writing on LinkedIn and on website. So how does that entire process look like?
Yeah, for sure. And I think like you called upon a great point that, if you're like sort of writing content, it's like on anything, like either on LinkedIn or like your blog or whatever it is, like you cannot continuously keep on writing content about something unless you're really interested about it, and unless you really want to learn more about it. Otherwise, if it's something that you just want to write about, which is popular but does not excite you, then you could probably go on for a couple of weeks, but then the third week or the fourth week would be
Right.
a pain, right?
Right.
So the reason I write content on LinkedIn is that because I'm just sharing the things that I've learned alongside my journey when it comes to like job search, when it comes to like tactical aspects of looking for jobs, and then once I see that a lot of like master students, like they've been resonating with the post, and then I've got the chance to meet with like amazing people through those like content as well. That's the reason for like why I post stuff on LinkedIn. Then comes to like my website. It's like it just started out as like a side project. Like I did not, to be honest, put a lot of thought to it. It was more about, and like the point that you said, that a lot of like people are web developers but do not have their own thing. So I would just say that like we're living in a time of like no code stuff, that you do not need any technical credentials to build a website, to even
Exactly.
like do crazy stuff. You can use Zapier for a lot of so you can do a lot of complicated stuff even without knowing how to code. That's for sure. So like my motivation was just to sort of have an like outlet to sort of the content that I feel is probably not the best fit for LinkedIn, because on LinkedIn then I've sort of like created like my audience, in the sense that I'm talking about like job search, so it's like very masters or like student related audience. But then like when it comes to like things like such as the things I've learned from the books that I've been reading. So I've never like really read books when I've grown, like when I was like growing older. It was just like last year when I wanted to decide, like I wanted to get into product management. Is the time I started reading about like business, entrepreneurship, like design, and like that's something that I like really got into, and then that's a habit I've kept on I
Right.
hope on keeping up. And it was just a way for me to sort of summarize the learnings that I've had from all of those things. So that's not like I want to sort of expand on it and sort of like have it as my online or like a digital resume. But like that's something I need to work on for sure. But the idea was just to have a place where I can write about stuff. I can like have a creative outlet. But like that's something I haven't like been very consistent with. But yeah, that was the idea.
Amazing, amazing. And then you mentioned about product management a couple of times. Like,
Mm-hmm.
while reaching out to people, you reached out to product managers, as you said. And over here, you mentioned about the books that you're reading, like basically around product management. So, as a CS major, how was the experience of shifting towards, like, not exactly shifting, but combining both of them, I would rather say. So, how was that experience like? And how did you basically find interest towards product management? And how is it going right now?
Yeah, for sure. I think that this conversation can go on for another hour. That's for sure. Yeah. So when it comes to product management, I feel that the like product management as an industry is like really growing in terms of awareness, because a lot of students that reach out to me right now on LinkedIn, even before coming to US, they know that product management is a field that they want to break into once they graduate. And like when I was coming to the US, like I did not know like even a handful of people, like who were even talking about what a product manager does. So that's like goes on to prove that like product management is like really, as a profession, it's gaining awareness. Like it's almost become sort of like a buzzword right now. So when it comes to like my personal journey, I did not even know that such a role existed once before I even came here. During my first summer here as an intern, as a software engineering intern, I worked at like a like very nice like company, and then the product team that I was working on was like really nice as well. I was surrounded by amazing people. Like while I did enjoy the role that I was doing, like of being a full stack engineering intern, what really got me excited was like talking and like seeing the product manager in the team. So what excited me was that one particular person is talking to the customers, like using doing focus groups and like taking customer feedback, and that particular person is responsible for talking to us as well, talking to other teams within the company, and then getting things done as well. So that was a role that like excited me, and like that was like sort of like a starting point towards like when I like thought that okay, this could be something which is interesting, and I would want to learn more, right? So thing about
Right.
product management is that like if you ask 10 different people, you'll get 20 different definitions of what a product manager does,
Right.
because it varies company to company, but majority of your role is just to translate like your customer need and then provide business value with whatever you're doing, right? That's just a very short form of what it does. We can get into the details of that, but I don't think it's very relevant right now. But from my story standpoint, like once I did that as my first summer, and then I thought that okay, maybe I want to become a product manager once I graduate. So from that point, what I need to do right now in like I have a year. So the first thing was to connect with product managers to understand okay what the role is about. Am I just fascinated by this idea that I want to be a product manager, or do I just not like engineering at all and I'm just like thinking about a
Okay.
way out
Yeah.
and what's the way out, right? So it was about validating my hypothesis. So talking to product managers did a great job, was a great step forward in sort of validating that hypothesis. And the second thing was I realized that doing an internship was the best way to learn. Like like getting hands-on, learning as you go. Like
Absolutely.
doing to learn is the best way that you can learn. You can read as
Exactly.
many books as you can. You can do as many like sort of boot camps as you can. But unless you put what you've learned to practice, it is like it won't account for that much. So like while I was like learning more about what product management is about, I realized that I have one more semester and then I can intern as a product manager, probably to see if I like it and see, and obviously that would boost my profile if I can get full-time PM interviews as well, right? And that's the time actually once that when I started realizing the importance of networking and then how you can, putting yourself out there can attract opportunities that you didn't know existed, right? So what I mean by that is after talking to like a couple of people, like a dozen of people about product management, I realized that okay, there are some product communities like product Slack groups which are pretty active about like, they post jobs, they post about good articles to read and just stuff like that. So through that, I got into a product community called Product School, and then there was like close to 80,000 people on that community, and there was like an
Okay.
introduction channel where I just usually I would never do such a thing where I would like introduce myself in front of 80,000 people, but because I felt empowered that I just thought, if I'm doing all these new things, I might as well put myself out there. And then I introduced myself on the channel that, hey, I'm just a master's computer
Right.
science student at NYU, looking for my first break in product management and stuff like that, and would be happy to chat. And through that message, founder of a very early stage like cloud consulting startup. He saw my introduction and then he reached out to me on Slack via DM that they're looking for a PM intern, and because the product is very technical, like they are looking for someone who understands cloud computing and AWS and those sort of things. And they reached out to me and I did an interview and within a week I had an offer, right? So that was like a very like huge validation for me, a because I
Right.
did not think that I was good enough to get an internship, a but the second thing was that I did not apply for it anywhere. Like I did not even know that such a role existed. I was just trying to put myself out there, talking to as many
Exactly.
people as I can, putting myself
Exactly.
like writing content on LinkedIn. Like I think hadn't even started writing stuff on LinkedIn, but just being part of those communities, that being part of like the place where the people like-minded people are, right? That's the place where you can create those opportunities for you. And that's sort of like how I got like my sort of first break in product management. Yeah, do you have
Okay.
any
It's
follow-ups
yeah,
to that?
it's an amazing experience. I mean, like it's crazy that just like writing posts on LinkedIn and just doing it consistently can take you to places. I mean, it's definitely an amazing experience. And I think you touched upon the factor that what are the professional opportunities that you get when you start putting yourself out on the internet, like either it's through your blog or it's through like your LinkedIn. Personally, I've been experiencing it since like last 8 or 10 months. Basically, this conversation is happening because I started putting myself out there on LinkedIn. So I'm really grateful about that. And like talking about the personal gains that you had, like okay, like professionally you got an internship, you're getting like you got your job or you're reaching out to people. But I guess like there's this whole professional like I mean personal side to it, wherein there's like increased confidence or like better communication skills or those soft skills that people usually talk about, like which are not really addressed as much as they should, because at the end I feel like you could have a ton of knowledge about any particular subject, but until unless you're able to present it out there, it's not like worth it. So talking, like, could you talk about the personal gains that you've had from this entire journey of reaching out to people and then creating content and stuff?
Yeah, for sure. Like when it comes to, I would say just the things like the reason, like like just reframing it, like instead of like personal gains, I would just say like if you're doing something consistently enough for a long period of time, you're obviously getting something out of it. Otherwise, you won't be consistent, right? So I would just frame it to like why I consistently kept on reaching out to people, and like why I
Mm-hmm.
consistently like kept writing stuff on LinkedIn, and like I'm still active on like other platforms even though like I have a job right now, is because like talking to people is a great way to like sort of learn from everyone, because even like you need to go into
Absolutely.
conversations with a very open mind, and that's something that I've
Exactly.
realized like before like sort of having these coffee chats or like connecting with people. I realized that I used to think that you can only learn from people who are sort of ahead in you in your life, say for like 5 years down the lane or 10 years down the lane. But that's so not true. Like you can literally learn from each and every one person that you talk to.
Exactly.
It's just that you
Exactly.
need to have an open mind, and you need to ask like insightful questions, right? So like the personal gain or like why I continue to do it, but there was just that I kept on learning from each and every one that I interacted with, and that was something that kept me going. And in the end, I realized that like at that time networking felt that I always like sort of wanted something from someone when I was looking for a job, that at the end of the day you're reaching out to people because you want a job. So either you're looking for a referral or something or the other. But then I realized that the best time to network is actually when you don't want something, is that because that's the time when you can make it not transactional. You can actually focus about the other person. You can really understand from them, because you're not looking for anything from anyone, and it's all about like adding value, that what you can do for the other person. So what that means is like, for example, when I was just like reaching out to people on like multiple platforms, and just trying to just have a conversation with someone. So I just connected with a senior product manager at Microsoft, and I felt really great that that person just decided to have a conversation with me. And then after that, I realized that I saw that they are trying to create their own like a personal channel on Instagram, where they talk to aspiring product managers about like what the things they should know. And when I saw that, I actually reached out to them, and then I told them that as an aspiring product manager, I think that these are a couple of the most pressing pain
Mm-hmm.
points that people face when they're trying
Right.
to break into product management. So I think like these are like a couple of things that you can definitely focus on, which would add a lot of value to aspiring PMs as well. So there is
Mm-hmm.
always something or the other that if you can try to be useful for the other person, that's the best way to sort of build relationships. That's what I've realized along the way, and that's why I consistently keep on doing it.
Right, right. I totally resonate with this point. I totally resonate with that. I mean, it's so amazing that I get to talk about these things with someone like you. Like it's literally an amazing opportunity to have this conversation. Like I get to have this conversation. It's really amazing. And you mentioned about the books that you've been reading about product management and like a couple of other books. So if you could talk about the top three, if I ask you about the top three books that you have to pick up from the plethora of books that you have read, is there any particular book or a set of books that you would recommend? People coming from different avenues of life, like someone wants to get into like self-help stuff, someone wants to get into business stuff. So like if you talk about that as well.
Right, yeah, for sure. So, like, just to be clear, like, are you talking about like top three books for especially for people who want to get into product management, or just in general, like just self-help books or something like that?
Just in general, I mean, amongst all the books that you have read, like related to any genre in particular,
Mm-hmm.
like in general, I mean, yeah, that's what.
Right, got it, got it. Yeah, so I would say like the first thing that actually satisfies both the criteria is like The Design of Everyday Things by Don Norman. It's a great book.
Mm-hmm.
It might feel a little like boring to start with, but it's just about how everyday things around us are designed. So, and like
Mm-hmm.
it is actually the foundation of like human-centered design, like how everything which is artificial is designed. So how do you design things by keeping users in mind rather than keeping like your specifications in mind? So it like sort of changes the way how you perceive like different things around you, and you sort of start appreciating design more. So that's a
Mm-hmm.
great book to start with. In general, like I think like Psychology of Everyday Things by Morgan Housel is a great book on personal finance. It's so when it comes to like when I hear the word finance, and I'm sure like others would share this feeling, is that there's a lot of things that it feels like there'll be a lot of jargon thrown your way about like call stock options or whatever that is. But the beauty of this book is that it's written in a very clear language that anyone could understand, and it's very actionable in the sense that it would help you make smart decisions as well. So like psychology of money is a great book. That's something that I sort of have reread every year. And I would say the third book would be the Almanac of Naval Ravikant.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
So if people don't know, Naval Ravikant is like the founder of AngelList, and he's
Angel
like an
list.
early investor at a couple of great companies, Twitter, Uber, and stuff like that. So that's just a
Mm-hmm.
book which, and there's a free PDF available, like official PDF version available online. So you guys can check that out. Like that's a great book, just about like how do you think about wealth, how do you think about your health, and like about philosophy and stuff. So that's a great book as well.
Yeah, thank you so much for this. And coming towards the end of the conversation, like if you could talk about the amazing things that you are currently into, like your basically your job, sort of if you could share about that, and other, let's say couple of side projects or side hustles like writing on LinkedIn or something like that. If you could talk about that a bit.
Yeah, for sure. So firstly, I think the majority part of the day is like the full-time job that I have. So just like for people who are curious, so I am not a product manager. Like the role that I have is an analyst role. So it's a client-facing role, and it has a lot of transferable skills that I knew I wanted to hone before I became a product manager. So it involves like day-to-day communication with our clients and
Right.
like sort of being heavy on the analytics side of things. So uh, it's an ad tech company where like we work directly with advertisers who run their digital campaigns on our platform. So for me,
Mm-hmm.
it's important to understand what the business goals are for those advertisers, and then making sure like they are set up for success on our platform. So like we can get it deep into like real time bidding and like that sort of stuff, which is pretty fascinating technology as well. But I think I can leave that for some later time. But that's
Mm-hmm.
like some part of my role. The other thing that I'm involved in right now, like as you said, like I keep like writing content on LinkedIn, and like when I say write, it's not just a very one-directional thing, because once you start writing content on LinkedIn, you would get like people who are reaching out to you, or
Absolutely.
they're just curious
Yep.
about like if they want like more explanation, or someone who just like would want some advice on something. So I've been like doing my best to have as many conversations as I can, because like having one-on-one calls like these,
Yeah, yeah.
they're not infinitely scalable. So I've resorted to writing stuff, because more often than not I've seen that people struggle with on things which fall under like similar buckets. So that's something I've been involved with. And the third thing I guess like would be like I'm like a product management career mentor at like Leap Scholar. So Leap is a startup based in Bangalore. They
Mm-hmm.
do a lot of stuff related to people who want to pursue their higher education abroad, like from I believe like IELTS and like TOEFL and those sort of prep towards their Leap Scholar program, which actually helps people like students get in touch with like mentors like myself and like other people, so that they feel that they're supported even while they're on this
Mm-hmm.
journey. So so it involves like just having like sort of one too many like seminars like once in
Right.
a while to just talk about a bunch of stuff, either product management or like NYU related stuff or just stuff like that. And and then just so having like being open to one-on-one chats with people at all times as well.
Right, right, right. So, if there's any message that you'd like to give to the audience, any sort of advice or one last thing that you could tell to the audience, so what would it be?
Yeah, I would just say that take everything with a pinch of salt, because whatever people tell you, even if like obviously even with their best intentions, they can only tell you as much as they know and as much as they have seen in their subjective experiences. So listen to everyone, but don't like sort of but leave the final decision making to yourself, because
Mm-hmm.
people can only tell you so much that they know. So whenever it's like a big decision, consult as many people as you can, but obviously don't consult a lot of people, because that could like be
Yeah, yeah.
counterproductive as well. So in the end, I would just say listen to everyone, like reach out to as many new people as you can, put yourself in uncomfortable position as often as you can, because
Mm-hmm.
that's the place where your comfort zone will grow and you will grow. So that's just a few lessons that I've learned in my previous years here. And I'm happy to chat with people. I can share my LinkedIn link or something like that,
Sure.
or we can put in a link alongside the videos. Like, feel free to reach out.
Sure, sure.
Happy to chat with people post this as well.
Sure, sure. I mean, that's it for this episode, guys. I mean, it was a pleasure to have you here. Like, this is probably the best thing that LinkedIn has given me since like I started writing like 8-10 months ago, and I could never ever imagine doing myself this, having a conversation with a person like you who's into so many other things, and it was a brilliant conversation. I mean, this episode would be labeled as the conversation of my dreams, episode number 1 with Shaurya Sethi, and thank you so much for taking out time for us, and like giving us this amazing information, and yeah, thank you so much for joining us, and yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Sohan. Like, I just want to say that, you're doing a great job as part of the podcast team lead, and like even with like your newsletter, right? Like you're in second year, right, of undergrad. Like, it's great to
Yeah,
see
yeah.
that, you're putting yourself out there. Like, I don't even know what I was doing when I was in second year of college. Like, I think I was just like trying to just maintain my 75% attendance quota. That was it. So it's great to see you guys out there doing a great job, and thanks for having me here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah.
All right.
Well, that's it for this episode, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this conversation was insightful. If you found it insightful, please let us know in the comment section below, along with your feedbacks and suggestions, so that we can definitely improve next time. Also, don't forget to check out Shaurya's LinkedIn and Twitter, which is listed in the description below, along with our Instagram page, in which we keep sharing about our future podcast updates. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and have a great day. Bye bye.